All right, this video is on doing a sales comparison or pulling comps for a property that you might be flipping. So I have up here my email, and I'm going to kind of walk through this like completely step by step. So follow me here. Hopefully it's not boring, but also remember there's probably a few different ways to do this. This is just the way that I do it. So this is the way I've been doing it for years. So we got a new opportunity. This is from a wholesaler. It's a light flip in Sugar House, Salt Lake City, Utah. So the first thing I do, and again, I'm going to go back and assume that I really don't know much about the area. This is an area that I know pretty well, but let's just pretend. I'm going to go like step by step how I do it. I may take some shortcuts just because I'm familiar with the area, but this is what I do. So this is a wholesale deal. The first thing I don't do is I try not to pay attention to the ARV estimate from the wholesaler. A couple of reasons I don't do that. One, I don't want to be guided in where the ARV is. They may be right, and we may come up with the same assumption of ARV, but I don't want to be directed by them because remember, the wholesaler is wanting to put the best foot forward as far as what that ARV will be because they want to maximize the value that they're going to get out of their wholesale deal. So I don't know what the answer will be in this one, but maybe the home comps out to be $500,000. If they probably could pull comps to justify the 780. But so our game here is we don't want to lose money. We also want to get a deal to work, but we want to be able to say no if there's a good reason to say no, and we want to be able to say yes if there's a good reason to say yes. So part of that is using your own head to come up with your own value. So take a look at a property, find the address, we're going to come back to some of the stuff that's on here. So what I do then is I go to the MLS, and again, I'm here in Utah. So I'm going to type in the address. I'm going to find the property on the MLS. 16th East. So I like to have all these tabs open because as you'll see, I'll kind of bounce back and forth. So in this case, if it's on the MLS and there's a prior listing history, I like to pull that up. So this shows me what the square footage is, what some of the photos look like, and then just as a quick double check, I'll go back and make sure that the wholesaler is representing the same square footage as the county. In this case, they put 2,000 square feet, but the county is actually showing 2326. So there's some sort of discrepancy. So then what I'll do is I will go to the tax page of the county to see what the county is actually showing, if the wholesaler is correct or if the old MLS listing is correct. And I unfortunately pulled up the wrong page. The parcel detail is the one that I want. So this one I always pull up as well because it shows you the historical tax value and it also gives a summary of what the square footage is. So this square footage is coming back at 1996. So what this tells me is this prior listing, which is here, probably misrepresented the square footage. And the wholesaler is dealing with the right square footage because the county is also verifying that it's basically 2,000 square feet. So for my purposes, I'm going to count it as 2,000 square feet. The other thing I will do is have a pencil or pen handy because I'm going to make some little notes. And what I'll actually do is print off the tax page because sometimes it's easier to make notes visibly on the property page, especially if you want to go back and file it away or take this page when you go out to look at the property in person. So, okay, so here we are. We got the old MLS. We've got, we don't need this page anymore because it was our search page. We've got the wholesaler. So now what I do is I want to get familiar with the property. So we have these pictures from 2014. This is more just out of curiosity to see if there's been dramatic changes over the years. Because some of this, what you're looking at is like, okay, this was the condition. Now the wholesalers are good because they have a whole treasure trove of photos. I'm not going to blow through all of these because it's not relevant to our comping, but it is kind of nice to just kind of flip through to get familiar with the property while you're looking at it. If you don't have photos, then obviously you need to wait and go to the house and just make some assumptions based on the square footage as to what the remodel might cost. But our purpose here is to do a comparison of the property, not necessarily a full deal evaluation. So then what I do is I go back to the MLS, remind myself of the address, and then what I do, even though I know where this is at, I like to go to Google Maps. I will type in the address. Because even though I know the neighborhood, I might forget some of the little intricacies. I like looking at the aerial map view because it reminds me of where it's at in the valley. You know, it reminds me of where it's at in relation to freeways, where there's some value, you know, borders, even though it's in the same area. And then it's like, okay, it's by Sugar House Park, it's by the creek, you know, it's just off of 15th East. So if you know Salt Lake, you know that the 15th and 15th area, which is basically like, you know, right here, is a very popular, sexy area. In fact, all of Sugar House is, but there's little nuances to every neighborhood. This one's very well locked into a very traditional neighborhood. Now, it is on the corner. Well, it's not on the corner, but it's on 16th East. But these roads are not overly busy, so I don't worry too much about that. Sometimes I'll pull up the aerial, the satellite view, just so I can see what the yard looks like. Nothing totally weird about this. It seems like a very normal, it's got a one-car detached garage. The architecture on it's cute. So you already have an idea of like what you could do to it, the colors you'd change it to. And I'm reminded of exactly where it's at in the neighborhood. This is going to come in handy when we go to the next step. So what I like to do is I'll keep this so I have the property info in front of me, open a new tab, and then we go to the search mode. So this is how I do it. Go residential full, clear everything out so you don't have any old data in there. I always take active, backup, under contract, and sold listings, the last 180 days. And I narrow this in a little bit, but I don't want to bracket it too much just yet. This home's 2,000 square feet. I already know the neighborhood that there's going to be a lot of comparables that are plus or minus within that square footage. So we can keep this pretty tight, 2,400 square feet and 1,600 square feet. Now what I do, because this MLS, I love all the features on it, I go to the map view. And that's why I pulled up Google Maps. So I can come back in here, I already know where it's at. But if I forget, you know, pop back open the map and I'm reminded, okay, it's next to Downington, Garfield. It's you know, it's right around here, right? So I know from this area that if I were to get comps, most houses in this general area are going to be pretty similar value. The best comps are going to be the ones that are closest to the subject property. So what I do is I use the polygon tool, and I'll kind of just go and like I'll say, this is where I'm looking. Now I know this area well enough to know that I'm not going to go on the other side of 21st South because the values are going to change a little bit there because it's towards the country club. Now this is the other reason why I use the map to identify my comp area, is because I am a visual person. I like seeing visually as well as on a spreadsheet. So the way this MLS works is all these in red are sold, all these in yellows are under contract or backup. So when I look at this, I think, man, there's likely 42 properties in the last 180 days that are either active, under contract, sold, and there's only one active listing. So what that tells me is that this area is super hot. There's no inventory. If you have a house for sale today, there's so much demand in here that if it's priced right or even a little bit aggressive, if someone wants to live in this popular neighborhood, you're the only house that they're looking at. So if it was swapped and all of these were green, this would tell me, man, I'd stay way clear of this neighborhood because there's no absorption, no one's buying houses in here. Or if you're going to do it, you just got to know that you've got to make money being the least expensive home with the nicest features. So that's why I like seeing this, because it tells you, like, inside of the macro market, the micro market, what the inventory is like and what the supply and demand is like. So 42 is way more than I need. There's plenty of homes that are probably a little bit better comps for us right around the immediate street. So then what I'll do, like let's say there was only 5 comps, I would look at all of them, but you know what, I'll dial in this little area because our house is like right around here that we're looking at. So then I go view results, and I have my search set up so it always lists the highest price to the lowest price, because I'm guessing that the highest price ones are going to be the most likely ARV comps. Okay, so again, this isn't a full deal analysis video. This is more just how to compare homes. So then I'll look at these and go, okay, is this similar to the one that we're doing? Face value, pretty similar, 2996 square feet. So I'll just kind of scroll through these. You know, in these older neighborhoods, some of these ones that have like better style and design and character are just going to sell for more. Garages are important in this neighborhood, but what you'll start seeing is a general theme for the highest priced homes, what their price per square foot is, and what the price for the neighborhood ceiling is. So if $795 was the highest price that home that sold for something right around 2,000 square feet, then that's probably the max price you're going to get no matter what you do to the house. Even if you put gold-plated ceilings in, you may not get too much over the $795 unless you have just such a spectacular lot. That's why I like looking at the overview of the lot, because if it's like twice as big of a lot, clearly you're going to get more value. But what I'm hoping to look at is that very, very similar, like-minded properties in terms of features, square footage, you know, amenities, and lot size. So 362 a square foot, 390 a square foot, 330 a square foot. This one has pictures. This one looks like it was a flip or remodel. Not on the exterior, but on the interior. 353 a square foot, 349 a square foot, 323 a square foot, 438 a square foot. What you'll find sometimes is some homes that are a little bit lower average square footage will sell for a higher price per square foot, and or they may have just done such a fantastic job inside that it was just too much for someone to pass on. Also, quick note here, this one was listed at 730 and he hit 800. We got to remember the times that we're living in, that people are overbidding for stuff all day long. There's a chance that if someone just went way over their skis on this and maybe only needed to pay 750, but they were so emotionally charged on it. So I would discount this one a little bit, just because I don't think you can bank on getting 70,000 over list price on every house you list. Because as we're scrolling through here, it seems like for some of these remodeled homes, something in the 360 a square foot is probably where we're going to end up. Okay, so then what I do, even though this isn't a, you know, this is not a deal analysis, I do throw it into my calculator really quick. So let's be reminded of how many square feet it was. I think it was 1996. So if we figure, I'm just going to play around with the numbers a little bit. So if this one sold for $750, it would be at $375 a square foot. $725 be at about $363 a square foot. My guess is I'm going to settle on a number somewhere around $725. Maybe even a little bit more. Let's go back and remind me if it had a garage, 1-car garage. So if it had a 2-car garage, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with a higher number. This one has a 2-car garage, sold at $749, almost the same square footage, right? So, you know what? The market's so hot, there's no inventory. I think on this one, I'm going to come back and settle in somewhere right around $740, okay? Now from here, but you know what? It could be $760. So this is just, at some point, it's subjective, where you've got to go drive it. You've got to look at the comps, you got to drive the comps, and then I think you can really nail down where it's going to be. But the reality is it's going to be somewhere right around 740 to 750, maybe 760. And if you do a phenomenal job and you just happen to be on the market when there's nothing else there, you might end up getting something like happened with this one, where it went from 730 to 800. My guess is when this one, it was 2 days on the market. I bet you when this went up for sale, there was 0 available, and someone was flying in from out of state. I mean, even some of these, like, you know, this went from 705 to 720, closed in January, 1-car garage, really not remodeled. Well, it's nice, but it's not like an updated remodel. So I would come back and say, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be somewhere right around that 740 to 750. And just for the sake, since I have this calculator up, let's say you're using hard money, putting 15% down based on that square footage. I'm just going to guess, like maybe it needs 150,000. You know, this again, this isn't the point of doing a rehab estimate, but yes, based on how my calculator's set up, and how competitive it is, my guess is we need to get this for, at the most, $575, again, assuming that it really is a $150,000 remodel. Then you could still make 50. That's for you to decide if that's a good enough spread. They're offering this at $665. To me, this one's a hard deal at $665 because it could hit $790, but if it hits $790, you're encroaching in on what would be the highest priced home in the last 180 days. So it definitely could hit that, but I think they are smoking crack if they think they're going to get $880 for this house. Now, the way this market's been going, they probably will get it, right? But that's not how I play the game. I don't want to project that I have a crystal ball. The highest priced home in there that ever sold was $800,000. So yes, there's a chance you could get 800, but there's plenty that would tell me that this is probably more, plus or minus around 750. Could you talk me into that would be 770? Yes. Could you talk me into that could be 740? Yes. The real answer to that is how well you execute on the remodel and how unique and special the home ends up being. If you ended up doing a crappy job on this, it's probably a 720 house. So that's where you've got to like use your brain a little bit and go, well, what will I actually deliver? Will it be as spectacular as those top end comps, or will it not? And anyway, that is how I do Comparables 101. And go back and rewatch it and download my fix and flip calculator if it helps. And we'll catch you on the next.